Committee Chair now recognizes Mr. McKinley for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and I appreciate the fact, and I'm encouraged that the committee today is going to be addressing the EPA's mission, because over the years, I think we've experienced mission creep that became a consuming force within the EPA. And quite frankly, the Trump administration, in fact, it was demonstrated during the Obama administration that it was all stick and no carrot. The Trump administration it concurs with your statement in trying to get it back to the basic mission. They spent the last 4 years trying to get back to the basics. What was the law? I had conversations with Scott Pruitt, same thing with Andrew Wheeler. Get back to the basics. What do we have to do? And he was successful with that. We've already heard over the litany of successes with it. The Superfund site updated the lead and copper rule, finalized air quality standards, created a funding mechanism so that we provided $100 million in grants. So without objection, Madam Chairman, I'd like to enter into the record the EPA's 2020 year in review and a document from Administrator Wheeler highlighting their net accomplishments.
Mr. McKinley, as stated, we will enter all of the exhibits at the end of the hearing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Your staff provided to committee staff.
Thank you. So the question to Governor Wheeler, the Trump administration finalized a new lead and copper rule for the first time in over 30 years. When you were at the EPA, did you try to update that regulation? Ms. Whitman? My time's running. It's just continuing. Apparently.
Question addressed to me. It was cutting out badly. I couldn't hear. I apologize. I couldn't hear the question.
I lost the time on that. What we were saying was there was a new lead and copper rule that was put in place for the first time in over 30 years. So my question, when you were at the EPA, did you try to update that regulation?
Congressman, I don't even actually remember that. But yes,
okay.
I don't know. I honestly can't say whether we did or not.
Thank you. Do you know that that during the Obama administration worked on a lead rule for 8 years, but never proposed one? Under Trump, they did. They took care of it.
Well, that's good. We need that.
In the Flint, Michigan water crisis that happened under the Trump administration, did it happen under the Trump administration? Or was it Gina McCarthy and the Obama-Biden administration that took place that the water was so contaminated there? Do you know?
That was going on for a long time. I think there were several administrations.
Well, it happened under a lot of EPAs that ignored it, but it finally came to pass and it was corrected with it. Do you know back in 2015, the Gold King mine outburst out in Colorado, did that occur under a Trump administration to fix it? Or was it the Obama administration?
I presume, by the way you're asking the questions, it was under the Trump administration that was addressed.
Okay,
I mean, every administration has had their crises and addressed.
Oh, yes, they have.
So it's good. I mean, we need that. Nobody is all bad, and that's the good
Governor, thing. Now, let me turn to Carol Browner. On page 2 of your testimony, you discussed the need to strengthen the environmental enforcement. But starting in 2011, there was a downward trend in all criminal enforcement statistics. It wasn't reversed until under the Trump administration. So were you aware of that it was declining, not increasing, or not flat?
With all due respect, it is important to distinguish between civil enforcement and criminal enforcement. And I think that you need to look at both of the numbers.
Do you realize that the administration of the Trump administration actually collected twice as much in civil and criminal penalties than the Obama and Biden administration did? Were you aware of that?
I think the question is, what were the levels of compliance? What we all care about is the clean air and clean water.
It was a yes or no on that. So if I
not the penalties, correct.
I reclaim my time to go to John Deskin because the time's running out. John, Professor, the Democrats seem to be returning to the Obama's mission again, overwhelmingly focused on this war on coal as it relates to it. And they want to decarbonize this power sector by 2035. And without carbon capture, this would ultimately eliminate coal and natural gas for domestic energy production. And you've already talked about what's going to happen with it. Can you discuss the potential impacts that eliminating that in fossil fuel production would have on budgets like in West Virginia or in Alaska, Wyoming, North Dakota, or Alabama, all the states that are involved with fossil fuels?
Do you mean if we just completely eliminated fossil fuels?
Well, that's what they're doing. That's the plan, to do away with it, because they're not funding carbon capture. So there's no way for us to get to net zero by 2035 unless we eliminate it.
Well, I certainly haven't analyzed the complete elimination, but that would be devastating for much of West Virginia. I mean, that would devastate our employment base. It would devastate our tax revenue base. If that happened, just hypothetically, if we had complete elimination over the next year, West Virginia would be devastated.
Just in closing, I know I'm running, but by 2030, they want to have 0 or 80% emission reduction of carbon. Are we going to be able to achieve that in West Virginia, 80% in the next, by 2030?
No, I don't think we can achieve it in that short.
The rest of the panel heard that, and we can go from there. But
I
thank you
think
very
the
much. I appreciate
gentleman,
the time.
you're now ready.